What if I told you the real reason why Gimpy gets more views, likes, and follows than you isn't because he's male, white, or has dental grade enamel, but it's actually a lot more hilarious. But what makes Gimpy's videos more addictive than cold brew coffee? And why does he go viral every third video? Well, in order to understand this, we first need to answer the question, what is viral? Is it 100 likes or 100,000 views? Because if you can't conceive it, you can't achieve it. But according to the experts at Viral Icon, going viral means two things. If you have less than 10,000 followers, going viral means getting 10,000 views or more. But if you have more than 10,000 followers, like Gimpy, then a viral video is any video that gets more views than your follower count. But most pages with 1 million followers can barely hit 10,000 views. Not because going viral is tough, but because they don't yet know the formula. But Gimpy here is pulling in millions of views, but the crazy part is it looks like he's not even trying. Now let me be clear, Gimpy pours his heart and soul into his videos, so he is trying hard in other ways. But something tells me that views and followers aren't his primary goal, but I'll explain why that matters later. But first, what's his viral strategy and how do we use it to grow our audience? A client asked me to analyze his page, but what confused me wasn't that he was getting thousands of supportive comments, because I don't know about you, but I think long and hard before I comment on a video. But the fact that his bromance was so strong that it felt like he was putting on a false front. But the longer I watched, the more I realized he wasn't just being himself, but he was allowing his environment to shape him in real time. For example,
dude, what is it about getting older that like a crispy morning is just fire, dude? Like, and if you throw a crispy leaf under the foot too, dude.
This video got 2 million views, but what grinds my gears isn't his greasy hair or the bromantic language, but Gimpy is committing an act of defiance that goes against what every short-form guru is telling us to do. Because in a culture where attention spans are cooked, Gimpy posts without subtitles, yet he still gets millions of views. But that lets us in on a little secret that small creators often forget, and that is your topic matters more than your bells and whistles. So what are the bells and whistles that new creators like to hide behind? Crispier camera, brighter lighting, captions, fancy impossible edits that take 1 million hours to make. All that is compensation if your message lacks power! But before we talk about putting power in your message, we first need to address his bromantic nature. Because when I first watched him, I wanted to see if he was putting on an act. But 12 minutes later, I caught myself laughing along with him. Not because he was funny, although sometimes he is, but because I felt like one of the boys. And that distinction is important. Because Gimpy isn't just offering you entertainment, but he's inviting you into his inner circle. And if you'd like to join my inner circle, consider subscribing because it's free and it helps the channel out. But Gimpy uses a very specific technique to rope new viewers in. But what is this technique and how can we use it to build our audience? Well, in 1993, Carol and Judy studied 154 couples ranging from newlyweds to those who had been married for over 50 years. But the couples who had a happy marriage all reported the same thing. They created their own unique language early on that they continued using to this day. You've probably done this with your girl or boyfriend, calling them sugar plum, or changing words like dinner to bim bim. But is there science to back this up? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it turns out when you use your own secret language with people you love, a chemical in your brain called oxytocin is released, which causes you to biologically bond with the person you're listening to. But we have Gimpy over here changing words like Mother Nature to Mother Nash, bro. Or words like caffeination to caffeination, bro. But instead of confusing his audience, the comments tell us what people actually think. But that's because Gimpy is tapped into a relationship building model that literally keeps married couples from falling apart. But there's 2 more reasons why Gimpy gets millions of views without using paid ads or flashy edits, but it's much simpler than you might think. You see, most creators on camera film with the viewer in mind. Imagine yourself turning on your camera and staring into the black dark abyss that is your camera lens. So you start messing with your hair or thinking about the zit on your face. But before you know it, you completely forgot why you pressed record, because all we can think about is how harshly we're about to be judged by the rest of the world. But some people act tough, like they don't give a rat's ass. But that's just adding walls to an already fragile ego, pushing your audience even farther away. But Gimpy does the opposite, because instead of being conscious of his viewer, Gimpy focuses all of his attention IRL. Literally. Because every single one of his videos follow the same pattern. Step 1. Gimpy is blown away by something he experiences in real life. Step 2. Gimpy invites you to observe the object of his fascination. Step 3. No subtitles. But what makes us stay and watch isn't the fact that leaves are crunchy or cold brews are yummy. I don't even drink coffee because caffeine keeps me up at night. But what traps people in an endless doom scroll binging Gimpy's content is the fact that he is fascinated by something that is so simple in a world where everyone else is so jaded. Because in an attempt attempt to ground ourselves in reality. We've thrown reality out the window in exchange for what we've been told reality should look like. But Gimpy is the biggest rebel, but he rebels in a way that isn't offensive, isn't loud, isn't obnoxious. He simply refuses to allow his heart to become jaded in a world that ignores the little things. But that's abstract. How do we apply this to our content? Well, I want you to ask yourself a question. What topic or thing in your life fills you with passion? So much passion that if you were to talk about it, you would completely forget about who is listening on the other side of that camera. Sadly, a lot of people don't have an answer to that question, which reveals a greater problem in our society, because that tells us we're losing our ability not only to choose, but to think for ourselves. But finding passion in life is a muscle we can grow, but it only grows at the speed of our hunger. As it is famously written, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." But there is a third reason why Gimpy keeps you glued to your screen, using a little technique I like to call brain hacking. Every famous creator does it, and if you want to learn how, watch this video here. But you are now faced with a choice. You can do nothing with the information you just learned, or you can become the viral brand you know you were born to be. My name is Jesse. I turn entrepreneurs into viral stars, so if you want to grow, call me, bro. Link down below.